Hey everybody, for today's overview review how to play, we will be doing Too Many Bones. I'm Nick, and I'm going to do this overview and review by myself, how to play Krissy's Away. That rhymed. But I'm going to go over Too Many Bones. It's not going to be like a full how-to play. I'm not going to go over each individual gear lock, how to play them. I'm just going to go over the overview of the game, how to set up, general how to play, but nothing super overly specific. I'd like to take a minute to thank the members of the channel who support us, allow us to make this content for you guys. A lot of fun over on members' lives. And I've played this game a bunch now with them. I've made it for you guys as well. So check it out. It's fun. We're a good time over there. Anyways, okay. So to set up the game, Too Many Bones, first you'll need to pick your gear locks. Now, depending on the player count, you can play solo, one gear lock, or multiple gear locks depending on player count, or you can play solo double-handed, playing two gear locks. That's how I prefer to play solo, but it's up to you guys. So first you pick your gear lock. So I've got Picket and Patches set up here. You take their starting stat dice, their player dice, their player chip. You also take their skill dice, have them nearby. I've got them in the same tray here just for ease of use. So once you picked your gear locks, you'll take the battle mat, get that out. You'll get your loot cards, your Trove Loot cards, get those out. You'll get your day counter and the day tracker. If you had bought the adventure map, that will have a little spot for this, but it doesn't come with that in the base game, so I don't have it set up. Take some attack dice, some defense dice, and some effect dice. Put that nearby. You'll have to take these lane markers dice, have them nearby the battle mat, and the lane marker chips. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the round dice. So that's the basic setup for every game. You also have your health chips nearby. So now we need to determine how long of a campaign we want to go through and what tyrant we want to fight. So the base game comes with 7 tyrants. So you have Gendrix, Nom, Duster, Marrow, Mulmesh, the Goblin King, and Drellin, Paleface. So if you notice on the card, there's 6 progress points that you need to have to battle this guy. There's also the 10 in the sun here. That's how many days you have to complete this tyrant. So if you look at them all, Drellin is 6 and 10. The Goblin King is 8 and 12. Right? So the longer you have to do it, the more progress points you require. So not always going on the shortest. I think the shortest is Nom. That's 6 progress points and 8 days. That's a big favorite for people to start with. It's kind of short though, so the shorter you have, the less skill dice you can get out. So it's a trade-off. So we'll pick Nom just to start with. So you take the Tyrant card, Nom, and you take Nom's Tyrant encounter cards. So they each come with 1. Nom comes with 1 Tyrant encounter card. Then you see the days, 8. So it's 8 days. So you minus 3. So that's how many encounter cards you're going to need to draw. So there's the standard base set encounter cards. So if you're playing with more than 1 gear lock, that's the one you'll choose from. If you're only playing with 1 gear lock, you'll choose from the solo encounter cards. So since we got 2 players set up, we will just draw 5 because 8 days minus 3 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you will shuffle the encounter card in with these. Right? Try not to look at it. Shuffle that up. Then you got to take these special encounter cards. And there's 6 of them. So you'll take 1, 2, and 3. Those are the always on top. 1, 2, and 3 always go on top. Doesn't matter the encounter. Doesn't matter the tyrant that you're playing against. 1, 2, and 3 always go on top. So you always kind of know how the game is going to start. Then if you want it to be somewhat of a mystery, there is this blind card that you can put over top of it, so you can just slide out your card and put it down like that. It's up to you if you want to play with that on top. And then you put it up, right up here. I don't know if I've mentioned these, but these are the Trove Loot dice. So you just keep them near the Trove Loot, and then just a 6-sided die. So place your encounter cards up here, like so. You'll take Nom and his tyrant card. You'll put it by the battle mat. You'll take Nom's dice and chip. So there's Nom's chip. Just put it up there. And you'll take Nom's dice, or die. And it color matches the back of the chip. So now that we've chosen the encounter, we've gotten our encounter deck built, we now need to build our baddie stacks. So baddies come in stacks of 1, 5, and 20s. So you'll look at your tyrant card and you'll see the symbols at the bottom of it. Those are the types of baddies that will be in this battle. All the other ones will get put back in the box. So you go through them, you flip them out. If they're in there, you keep them. So I'll do that. So you'll do that for all the stacks. The 1s, the 5s, and you can tell where they are because they're just right there at the very bottom. And then the key is, once you have it all sorted, you're going to want to make sure you shuffle them up because they'll all be grouped in. This is the biggest of the setup. And the 20s are no fun. You don't want to be fighting the 20s. So once you have the queue set up, you'll have them all shuffled, and you'll put them near the battle mat. Okay, so now you have your tyrant set up. You have your encounter cards set up. You know how many days it's going to take you to fight Nom. 8 days for Nom. You need to decide if you're going to do it on easy mode, super easy mode, or normal. Or super easy mode, or normal. So super easy mode, you start off with +2 health. You get +2 health, plus you get to do an additional skill. So all these are skills. Right? So you got health, dexterity, attack, defense. Then each gear lock will be different down here, and there's skill professions. So we can choose to put another one on dexterity if we want for picket. So then you'll take your health. So we're at 7 health. You'll take your health chips, count out 7. We have everything set up where we're actually ready to begin the game. So I'm going to kind of go over one of the player gear locks for now, and then we'll come back and then we'll kind of go over how to battle and go through an encounter card. Okay, so we got picket here. So upgrading these basic stats is easy. So health, if you ever get a training point off of a card, you get to spend them into points. Right, so these are what training points look like. Those symbols right there on the cards. Okay. So whenever you get a training point, you might get 1 training point, you might get 2, maybe 3. I don't know if 3 is a lot, but you'll definitely get 1 or 2 most encounters. And that's where you get to upgrade your gear lock. Make them stronger because as the days go on, it's going to get harder. If you get a training point, you can spend it in health. So you could just increase your counter up by 1. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Or you can upgrade your dexterity. You don't have to do anything else. Dexterity is how many dice you can roll. That's important because you can have all the skill, all the attack dice, all the defense dice in the world, but you can only ever roll as many dexterity as you have. So right now at 4, I could roll 4 dice. So dexterity is important because it lets you actually use your dice. But say you wanted to upgrade your attack. You don't just get to put it up 1. You have to do a training. So you do an attack training. So you take whatever your current skill is. So let's say we were trying to train We're already at that. So our attack dice, we get 3 attack dice. So say we wanted to do a training point and we wanted to see if we could increase that. So we would take our 3 attack dice, we'd roll it, and we'd see if we get any bones. So I got 1 bone. So that training and the attack failed. So I don't lose the skill point. I can spend it anywhere else, but I don't get to increase that. I have to go into the net one. But if I roll again, and there you go. I got all swords, so then I can increase it. You don't get to roll again, usually. That's just an example. But that's how you increase your attack. You take the attack die number, roll it. If you get any bones, you fail. If you don't get any bones, increase the attack die. Now, say you wanted to increase your defense. So defense dice have more sides of bones. So you have a higher probability of rolling bones. So what you would do, so let's say we were already at 4 defense dice. We're later on in the game, we're at 4, and we want to train, and we want to see if we can get to 5. So we'll take the 4 dice that we have, we're going to roll them up. And look at that. I got no bones. I could immediately increase it up to my 5. But let's say I did roll 2 bones. I failed it. But for defense, there's a catch. You get to re-roll your bones. So you take out your successes, and then you re-roll your bones. And if you get no bones on the second roll, you succeed. If you get a bone, you fail, you have to spend that point somewhere else. You could then take that point and say, I wanted to increase the attack die, and you could do that. Train your attack. Well, I got a bone. So I can't increase my defense die, I can't increase my attack die, so now I can either spend it on skills or health or dexterity. So that's the catch there. It's not always a guarantee on raising your attack and defense. So we also have the professions area. So these skill dice have an order. So you always have to start, so each color is a different profession. And you always have to start where the star is. So here, in his warden profession, which is green or blue, light blue, they all have stars. So you can go there. You can pick whichever one you want. Now, each Gearlock comes with this handy dandy sheet, which breaks down what each skill dice does and the symbol on it. So you get to see all the faces, and you get to see what the ability does. It also tells you a little bit about each of the professions. It tells you what the bones are used for, and I'll go over bones, but it tells you what the abilities are for bones. Kind of gives you how to build your character, what to work towards, and your innate ability. So your ability that you always have at the beginning of the battle. And effects dice definitions right there. But this side is super helpful for helping kind of pick what dice you're going to go for and what they each do, because each Gearlock is different. That's why we're not going to go over these 2 Gearlocks. They're all different. None of them play the same. So you'll have to take time and kind of look it over, read up on it. For this position, you see the stars are all there, so you could go anywhere. And they all have numbers, right? So that's 9, that's 10. The dice have numbers. So this die has the number 9 in the top corner. So if you train switch, you just get to put that die in there, and that's your 1 training point. Let's say we wanted to train shield form. I can't because I haven't trained stand your ground, right? So there's arrows. So I have to start here at 1, follow the arrow to get to shield form, follow the arrow to get to lockdown. Or I could go stand your ground, down this way, sword advance. You can't go sword advance to lockdown because there's no arrow. But that's basically how to understand the Gearlock. And again, you have the handy dandy reference guide. You also have here different bone abilities. So when you roll, so say we're fighting and we roll 3 attack dice, right? And let's say they all came up bones. That's a bad roll. It's highly unlikely. But you get to take those bones and you place them right there. So those do not count towards how many attack dice you can roll, right? So once per turn, your turn, you can choose to use a bone ability, a backup plan. So again, on your handy dandy reference sheet, it'll tell you 2 bones is shield bash. So I can remove all my defense dice, including newly rolled active slots and lock slots. Skill dice removed in this way are exhausted, and I can deal the total number of removed defense and damage. So they're all different, but they all benefit because you're going to roll bones, and having bones not always a bad thing. Let's say you roll previously, you roll your defense die, you roll your 4 defense die on your turn, and this is what you get. So you put your bone here, and you get to take these guys, and you put them in your active slots. So defense work, they don't attack the enemy, but they reduce the damage that are attacked towards you. So say you take 2 points of damage, instead of taking health off your chips, you would just remove 2 points. So I would just take rid of this. That's 2 points. That's gone. It goes back there. Okay. Now on my next turn, I want to roll defense again. You only have 4 defense die, and 1 in your active slots count as defense die. So I already have 2 up there, so I can only roll 2 more defense die. So I can choose to roll 2 defense die and 1 attack die because my dexterity is 3. Depending on what your dexterity is, right? So I've got 2 up there. The backup plan doesn't count. So I can only roll 2 defense die because I have 2 up there. So here's the other 2. And then I have 4 dexterity, so I can spend it on anything else. So I could roll 2 attack die, or yeah. So you roll that. Now you can only ever have 3 defense die in your active slot. So that would just go back to the pool. You would deal your damage, and away you go. So that is how you use your Gearlock. Your Gearlock also has space for 4 loot cards that you could get out. Loot cards, Trove Loot, you can have 4. Unless it's heavy, and heavy counts as 3. Okay, so you could have 1 heavy and 1 light. So that is your Gearlock in a kind of short gist of it. Kind of confusing, but it makes sense. Health is how many chips you have. Dexterity, how many dice you can roll. Attack, how many dice you can roll to do damage. Defense, how many dice you can roll to defend against damage being towards you. If you're training attack, you first roll. If there's bones, you don't succeed. If there's no bones, you get to increase it. Defense, if you roll 1 bone, you remove all your other successes out, re-roll that bone. If it's still a bone, unsuccessful. If it's not a bone, it's successful, and you increase it. Defense dice in your active slot count towards how many defense dice you have. Right? So if I have 3 defense dice up there, I could only roll 1 defense dice my next turn when I'm attacking. We may as well look at Trove Loot while we're here. So you might get to gain Trove Loot throughout your encounters. You don't get to flip it over right away. You gain it, it's face down, you don't know what it is. So after everything, the battle and whatnot, there is a different phase. So there's this handy dandy reference guide sheet here too, and it tells you the sequence of the day. So you start with the day, you increase the day counter, you draw and resolve your encounter, you have your battle. Did you succeed? Yes. You divide your spoils and you get your training points. So we just went over that. Now we get to go to recovery. So recovery has a couple sections. So you can trade loot with your Gearlock, with your party, any amount. You may make a lock picking attempt. And then you have individual options. So you get to do all three of these. So individual option, now you can only do one of these. You can rest and recover to get your full health back up. You could search for better loot. You could discard one loot and roll 6 attack dice. And for each bone you get to reveal that many loot cards, and then you get to pick one. Or you could scout ahead. You roll your d6, and on a 1 to 3 you get to reveal a 1-point baddie. On a 4 or 5 you can reveal up to a 5-point baddie. So you don't have to do a 5-point. You could reveal a 1-point. And on a 6 you could reveal a 20-point, a 5-point, or a 1-point to your pick. So, but you get to do a lock picking during the recovery phase. So you take your lock picking dice, and there's 3 sections that you have to. So there's lever, trip, and force. You take 4 dice, you roll them up, and we're trying to get a 3 lever. So right there, I have a 3 lever. So I put that on the card. Say you did not roll anything. Say I rolled that instead. A 2 trip, a 2 lever, a 2 trip, and this die. So this die lets you change the face to any one that you want. So it would be, I could change that to a 2 trip or a 2 force. It's up to you. There is 3 different sides of this dice. There is roll. I can increase 1 by 1, and I get to use, if I use this die and you do not exhaust it. So if I rolled this, right, +1 and a 2 lever, that make that a 3 lever, and I wouldn't exhaust this die. Or there is a re-roll die, and you would pick 1 die to re-roll, and you would re-roll the special die. So let's say I re-rolled, so I got that. Now, if by chance you rolled something that didn't succeed, right, on your first attempt, right? So that nothing there can succeed. I'm not going to get past the first one. You get to do 1 more attempt after that. So you get to roll again, and you see what you get. So I got a 3 force, a 2 force, a 2 trip, and a re-roll. Okay. So I don't have the 3 lever, so I could choose to use this die, which I'll re-roll the force and the special die. Now I got a 1 force, and I can flip a die to be any one that I want. So I could change this from a 3 force to a 3 lever. So I put that up there. Now we move on to the next one. So you re-roll all your die. So I need 5 trip. Okay, so I got 2 force, 1 force, and that symbol again. So I didn't do it. So you keep this on. Now you can use these little dots to track how many you've unlocked. So I put it up, and I've unlocked 1 slot now. You put these back. So next time when you start, you don't have to start at the beginning again. You start at the one you had just failed on. Let's progress through the day. Let's set back up and progress through the day, and let's go over a battle. So we're all set back up here. We haven't started. We've got our Gearlock picked. We got our Tyrant all set up. We got our encounter cards ready to go. We're going to just kind of go through a couple just to get the gist of how to do it. And we will get to our first battle. We will set up, and I will explain how that all works. And then we'll go into a quick overview, or to a quick review. The first 3 are always the same. Okay, so there is no surprises here. So I'm not going to read the special text. So there will be 2 choices. Not on all cards, but on some cards there's 2 choices. So this first choice, I could get 2 training points, or I could get 1 training point, and each Gearlock in the party may draw 2 loot and choose 1 to keep. So I get to choose between that. We also, remember, we set up earlier to be on super easy mode. And let's say we want to see, we get ourselves 1 extra training point, see if we can increase we're going to increase our dexterity by 1. And for pick it over here, we're going to increase, or patches, we're going to increase our dexterity by 1, 2. So we had already discussed that. Just put the dice away. So we get 2 training points. This is not by any means what you should do. I'm just randomly going off to try to show what you would do. So we're day 1. We're going to go with the 2 training points. And at the bottom of this, you're going to get 1 progress. So remember, you need the progress on the tyrant card to challenge the tyrant. We need 6. So hopefully we can do it 6 for the 8 days, because once you finish 8 days, there's no going back. You lose. If you don't have the training progress points before the end of the 8th day, or before the 8th day, because the 8th day you would need to fight the tyrant. The 8th day is the fighting the tyrant. That's it. If you do not fight the tyrant on the 8th day, you've lost. Don't even bother. So we're going to take our 2 training points. Let's say Pickett wants to try to increase his attack. So it's at a 1. So Pickett will roll his 1 attack die, try to change it, increase it. He does increase it because he got a 1 there, or a sword and no bones. And we're also going to increase the dexterity by another 1. So that's our 2 training points that we used. 1 on dexterity, 1 on attack. Then we'll go over to patches. Patches, we want to try to increase the attack. So we'll roll here, a bone. So we don't get it. We don't get increased there. So now maybe we want to try to increase the defense. So we roll our defense, because it's 1 defense. We get it. If we would have been a bone, we'd get to roll 1 more time. We got it. So that was 1 training point. Our second training point, we're going to put down a med kit. So med kit is dice number 1. So we'll take die 1. Doesn't matter the face, you just take it and you place it down. So that would go in. We get 1 progress. You keep this off to the side so you know how many progress points you have. Then we go into our recovery phase. So we can choose those 3 options. So we have no loot to trade. We have no Trove Loot to pick. So we go to the individual options. We're fully health at 7 apiece. So we don't need to recover. We don't have any loot to discard to roll to see if we get new loot. So we can do the 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒏 ability. So each Gearlock gets to do the 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒏, because each person, right? So Pickett will do his 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒏. He'll roll. He scouts ahead. He can scout ahead a 1-point baddie. So it's 1 to 3 is a 1-point baddie. 4 or 5 is a 5-point. And a 6 is a 20. And you can always go below what you've rolled. So you scout ahead. You just get to flip it over. And you get to see what the baddie is. Now, if you don't like the baddie that you scouted, you get to take it and you get to put it underneath so you get rid of it in hopes of a better baddie. Or you get to keep it and you put it face up on top of the stack. Then Patches over here gets to scout ahead too. Roll it. We got a 2. So you don't flip the one that's already over. You get to flip the next one underneath it. Well, maybe we don't like that one. So we're going to put that at the bottom. Put the one that we scouted previously back on top. Okay, so now we're done. So now we're on to the new day. You increase your day counter up by 1. So now we're on day 2. You get to read this out, flip it over, and then you get to resolve it. We flipped it over. Again, there's 2 options here. At the bottom, this is what you'll get no matter what if you complete it, right? So we'll get 1 progress point, we'll get 1 training point, and each Gearlock will get some loot. Or, so then we have to make our decision. This encounter or this encounter. This encounter gets us an extra training point. So the box, so the rules will always say on the second encounter, if you're new to the game, always pick the first one because it gives you an advantage that's easier. But training points are super important. It's easier, but you miss out on that training point. So it's not that hard. I would try to always go for the training point. Up to you. Training points are important, especially early on to keep that engine rolling, because as the days go on, everything gets harder. So if you don't get those training points, or if you fail, you don't get those training points, it just gets harder and harder and harder. So losing does not, it makes it harder. Don't lose. Rule number 1. It has, I'll read the 2 options. hail the guards for help. It says BQ baddie points. So BQ is the battle queue. At the start of each round, arrows from the wall deal 1 true damage to each baddie. And then it's got a little asterisk here, recommended for first-time adventurers. Or, your second choice, it's time to show Obendar what Gearlocks are made of. With Obendar watching, you feel an extra shot of adrenaline as you prepare for an unassisted battle. BQ points. BQ is baddie points. So BQ is telling you how to set up the battle queue. So we're going to be using battle points. So battle points. Or baddie points. Sorry. You calculate your baddie points by the day it is multiplied by how many Gearlocks. So we're in day 2. We're 2 Gearlocks. So our baddie point is going to be 4, right? If we were 3 Gearlocks, it'd be 3 times 2, it'd be 6. So 2 Gearlocks, day 2, baddie points is 4. So we'll put this off to the side, as that's what we're going to do. We set up for 4. Say it was baddie points was 6. You always take the highest point possible and then work your way down. So if it was 6, I would take a 5. 5 would be on top, and then I would take a 1. Okay. You always take the highest to subtract from the baddie points. Right. So if we were at 15, I would just take 3 5s. If we were at 14, I'd take 2 5s and 4 1s. And the highest baddie point chips are always on the top. But for this battle, we're 4. 2 times 2 is 4. We'll take 4. You take the 1 that you have on top, that you've already scouted, and so we got 4 chips. Well, you set up the battle mat. Throws. Take some chips, health chips. So the first one is 3 health. He has an initiative of 3. So it's 3 health, initiative of 3, and he rolls 1 attack dice. And his ability is Rage 1. So if he is injured, Rage is if he's lower than his maximum health, he'll roll an additional attack die. So right now he's only rolling 1 attack die. If he's damaged, he's going to roll 2. So you take him, take the blue chip, and then you would take the 3 health that he's worth. And he goes on the blue melee symbol. Because you can tell at the bottom by his name, the little symbol at the bottom, what type he is. You'll take his initiative die. Now I like to build my highest initiative down here, but you can do it however you want. As long as you know the highest initiatives go first and the lowest initiatives go last. Okay? So he's an initiative of 3. So you take that lane marker dice, 3. So we flip the next one over. So we got a kobold green thumb. He is 3 health. He is also melee. He has an initiative of 4. So 4 goes before 3. Oh, wrong color though. Okay, then you flip over this guy. We got a Trove Loot. He's also 3 health. And he is also melee. But he has an initiative of 1. He goes in the back. And then we got a Kobold Tracker. He is a ranged unit. He's 2 health. So he'll go on the range spot. And 2 initiative. Or 6 initiative. So he goes all the way in the front. Then you'll take your dice, your initiative dice for each Picket and Patches. Roll them up. Patches is 4, so he'll go in front of the 4. And Picket is 3, so he'll go in front of the 3. Push it up like so. So then you get to decide where you're going to put Picket and Patches. Now they're both melee units, so they have to go on one of these melee spaces. Doesn't matter which one you want. You can decide. There's more thoughts on to how to do it. Okay. So in Too Many Bones, you're not really moving your pieces around a whole lot, okay? Because the board is pretty congested. So we set up and we'll go through the initiative. So you can tell they all have abilities under here. This Troll Brute is Thick Skin 1 and he's careless. So Thick Skin 1 means when you do damage to him, you basically have to subtract 1 damage. It's 1 permanent defense all the time. Okay, so if I rolled 3 damage dice against him, it would have to always be subtracted 1 from it because of Thick Skin 1. Careless, that's his bone ability. So when he rolls his dice, if he rolls any bones, he's careless. He'll do 1 damage to himself. Rage, I already told you about. If he's below his max health, he'll roll Rage the number. So he'll roll that many extra dice. So he's Rage 1, so he'll roll 1 extra attack dice. This guy is Hardy. Now, Hardy is a really tough skill. Basically, it doesn't matter if it's a true damage that goes straight to the core or if it is regular damage, it's always reduced to 1. Not by 1, to 1. So if I roll 5 damage against him, he's only taking 1 damage. And then this guy up here, he's Hardy and he's Compound. So Compound means the number of dice he'll roll is dependent on the round. So round 1, he'll roll 1 attack die. Round 2, he'll roll 2 attack die. Round 3, 3 attack die, and so forth. That's pretty much it. They all have these targeting abilities. So melee units for targeting will always target the unit closest to it first. If there is a tie, that is when the melee's target will come into play. So this guy right here is going to target the strongest. So the strongest is whoever has the most health chips. Doesn't matter about defense die and the active slot. Whoever has the most health chips under his chip. And then you got weak target, so the least amount of health chips. Archers or ranged units will always use its targeting because they don't have to move anywheres. They can attack from anywhere. Baddies can always will move if they aren't next to you to attack, and they'll move 2, right? So first they will pick a target. If they're not in range, they will attempt to move into range. If they move and they're not in range at the end of the round, their turn, they will still roll their defense dice. So let's play out this battle quickly. We'll just do 1 round so you can see. Okay. So the initiative 6 goes first, so we'll pull that down. That is the green guy. He's going to roll, he's Compound, he's going to roll the number of attack dice against the weakest unit, 1 attack die. If there's a tie, you get to pick. So before we start the battle, we need to remember that each Gearlock is different and they all have these innate abilities. Okay. So Pickett's innate ability is he gets shield wall. So beginning of the battle, he'll roll his defense dice. So he gets 2 defense dice and he will roll it. So he gets to put his 1 up there. Bones don't get to go for his innate at the beginning. Patches innate is at the start of his turn. Patches heals himself for 1. Okay. So that's ongoing throughout the battle. Okay. So try not to forget the innate abilities. There is a lot to this game, but it's not too bad once you learn the specific Gearlock. Learning multiple Gearlocks at the same time might be a little complicated. Maybe you should start with 1 Gearlock, figure it out, then add in another Gearlock to learn. So we gave him a shield wall to start. So this guy's going to attack. We can decide who he wants to attack first because they're tied for weakest. So we'll say he wants to attack Pickett. We'll roll his thing. He does 1 attack. So that'll go off his shield. His shield goes away. And that's it for this guy's turn. Now it is Patch's turn. Patches decides to, he's got 3 dice he can roll. He's going to roll 1 attack die and his 2 defense dice. He's going to roll it against, actually, we're doing it better. We're going to roll his skill die medkit and 1 attack die and 1 defense die. Okay, and you have to pick a target before you roll all your dice. So he's going to target this guy in front of him. So roll it. You got 1 shield, and you can resolve these however you want. So I'll put my shield up there, my defense die. I did 1 attack, so I'll take 1 damage off of him. And then I have this skill die that I rolled, right? So you can always check the handy dandy sheet. You know, that's Chip Theory is known for, these nice plastic sheets of paper, right? So medkit is heal any Gearlock for the number of HP. So I could heal any Gearlock for 2. I didn't need to roll it. I don't need to keep it. I don't need to accept the roll. I can just put it. So I could use it. I'm fully health and I would waste it. Or I could just be like, nah, I don't want to, and I can put it back. Okay. You never have to accept the results on the die unless it specifically says so on the sheet for that specific skill die. So even if you roll a bone on some skill die, doesn't mean you have to put it in your backup plan. You could just choose to put it back in your skill slot and use it again the next round. Okay. So now it is purple's turn. Purple's in front of me. So purple is going to attack me because I'm the closest, or attack Patches because Patches is the closest one. So he's going to roll 1 attack die. He does 1 damage. Patches has a defense, so it just goes away. Now it's Picket's turn. Picket's going to attack the guy in front of him. He's got 2 attack dice he's going to roll. And he's going to roll 2 defense dice. So he gets 3 defense out, and he does 2 damage. Not enough to kill him. We were hoping for a kill there, because now he's going to rage. He's going to get that extra attack die because we didn't kill him. So that comes down. Now blue's going to go. That's blue in front of Picket. So he's going to attack Picket because he's closest. So he's going to roll 1 attack die plus 1 for his rage because he's not full health. So he does 3 damage to Picket, but Picket's got 3 shield, so that just goes away. So they cancel each other out. Now it's going to go to yellow. Yellow's not in range of anybody, but he's going to move to the closest character that he can. It doesn't matter his targeting. He's just going to move down 1. Now he's going to attack Picket. He rolls 1 attack die and 1 defense die. Okay, so he does 1 attack against Picket. Picket has no shields to block it, so he's taking it. And he rolled a bone. So because he's careless, any bones he rolls will deal a damage to him. So he is dealt a damage. He gets no shield. Okay. And so that's the end of the first round. And you would repeat. Start all over again, working from 6, 4s, 3s. So then you continue on, right? We finish the battle, say we won, we would get our 2 training points, we would get our progress point that would put us up to 2 progress points. We'd collect our loot. We could then do a scout, a recover, recover the health, rest for our health, right? It's all explained on the sheet, but that's pretty much Too Many Bones in a nutshell. There's a lot, learning how to use these skills, learning, to make combos, because skills are good, but they're one-time use. After you use it, it's exhausted. You do not get to put it back in to reroll. So yes, you can do it, but you need to pick when during the battle to use it. Attack dice you can always use, doesn't matter. You 2 attack die every turn. I can just keep rolling 2 attack die. Yeah, if I get it up to 5 attack die every turn, I could roll 5 attack die. Right, same with defense. So attack and defense are really important, and then you can focus on some professions. Do not forget your dexterity and do not forget your health either, because health, you are going to get hit and they are going to get harder, and it's going to get tough, and you will want that extra health. You'll want to be able to roll those dice because you'll want to get your shields out. If we're going to take component quality, and we'll look at that first, everything is neoprene mats, plastic cards, nice heavy poker chips, right? They're nice weighted feel. They sound good. The health chips are lighter. You can get premium health chips that give the weight, but these are pretty nice. They're fine. They do it. They do their job. They work good. There's a nice selection of baddies. The dice are well clear. You know, they got the numbers on them, so you can easily tell where they go to on the board. There's lots of attack dice. There's lots of defense dice. There's lots of effect dice. It's a really well thought out game. Component wise, there's no complaints. It's a typical chip theory game with components quality to 11 from a 10, right? 11 out of 10 for component quality. It's waterproof. You'll have seen other videos tell you they'll take a bath with it. It's crazy. And it feels nice. You appreciate a high quality game, but you pay for it. That's the trade-off, right? You get these fancy games with these fancy components, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Variability, right? So there's so many encounters, right? So if you're playing, there's so many. And then there is expansions to get even more encounters. I do wish that the base game came with more day 1, 2, and 3 cards, because after always playing day 1, day 2, day 3, it gets a little repetitive. I know there's an expansion that gives you more options in day 1, 2, and 3, but I wish that was included in the base game, just because it can get a little dry. Like, it's nice knowing what you're doing and knowing what you're going to get, but at the point, day 1, 2, and 3, you're doing the same thing every time. It really doesn't matter. You may as well just take the training points and move on. Because if you fail the battle on day 2, you may as well just start over anyways and call it, because you're not going anywhere. So I wish that was the case. I wish the adventure map was included instead of just this little chip here to track the days. The adventure map has a little token you can move on it to track your progress points instead of just keeping your cards nearby. It's a nitpick. It still works fine. Having another mat takes more space maybe. So, and then I would like to talk about gameplay. Like, it is fun. I really enjoy this game solo. Playing this game solo, I like playing 2 characters. My actual favorite characters to play right now are Gilly and Gasket. Those 2 expansion characters that you can get. Gilly's a must if you're going to get an expansion. I just love him. Like, he's an archer ranged and he's fun. I didn't enjoy this game. I always got my butt kicked before I got Gilly. So there's that to know. And it's also know Nom is not the most, like, everyone picks Nom because it's the shortest. But the shortest is not always the best, and it can leave a bad taste in your mouth if you're going short. Because it's harder. You get less training points. You get less chances. So you kind of need to think about that. I wouldn't recommend Nom for your first battle. I'd probably go with, who would I go with? Maybe Molmesh? Yeah. I'd probably go with Molmesh or Drellin. Molmesh or Drellin, but probably Molmesh. For the first couple battles. Just gives you a little bit more time. And the battles are fine. Each different tyrant is good. I'm glad the game comes with 7 tyrants. They're fun to play. They're different. They're unique, like getting there. And they change up which monsters or baddies you'll be fighting the types. So that's nice. No, overall, I really enjoy the game. I like the gameplay loop. It's fun. I like moving my chips around on the board. I like rolling the dice. There is a bit of luck involved if you don't like luck because of the rolling and you're not guaranteed, right? That can be stressful, right? If you don't know what you're going to get. But it's an RPG kind of style game. nothing is a given, right? But there's ways to mitigate it by just rolling a lot of dice. You need to do 3 damage, roll 6 dice, right? The stronger you get, the more dice you can roll, the better chances you will to get it. And then the backup plans, you know, the bones are not bad. The backup plans definitely have use, right? And especially some of the characters, once you get to a certain backup plan, you can spend them all to do a bunch of damage, right? So they're definitely things to be thoughtful of. And then there's some nice bonus little games in there, like the unlocking the Trove Loot, and there's poison darts, I believe. Just little mini games. Some encounters have you flicking dice to try to knock chips down. Like it's neat. Like there's a variety of encounters. They're not all just baddie points. A lot of them are, but not all of them. And some have choices, right? Of, oh, you're going to fight in one lane, and that's it. Or you can't, first couple rounds, you can't use any of your attack or defense dice. You can only use skill dice, or the other way around, right? So there's just those different encounter cards, which really change up the game, make it fun. But yeah, that's Too Many Bones. I love the quality of the game. I love the variability of the game. You know, there's lots of different encounter cards. There's expansions to get more encounter cards. There's expansions to get more Gearlocks than the base 4 that come into the box. But the core box comes with 4 Gearlocks. Again, that's more, you know, playability. There is Undertow, I believe, that only comes with 2 Gearlocks, right? So there's trade-offs. I would recommend base game over anything else right now. 4 Gearlocks, 7 Tyrants. It's a good value for what you're getting. Overall, I really liked the game. I didn't like it for a while. Like, I liked it, but I just struggled. I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't master Picket or Patches. I just always felt like I was missing something. And then I got Gilly, and then it just kind of all clicked. How to do it, how to focus on defense and attack, and how to get that all to jive well. And now I'm just loving it. Like, I went and bought myself 40 Days in Dolor, I believe it is, that expansion, just to give some more encounter cards, some more baddies to spice it up. But I would wholeheartedly recommend the base Too Many Bones. It's a great game. There's lots of game. Yes, it's challenging because each character is different, but on the bonus side, each character is different. They're not all the same. And that is important too, right? That keeps you going back. Oh, I'm going to try this combination. Oh, I'll just try Patches today. Oh, let's try Tantrum and Picket, right? Or Boomer and Patches. It's nice trying to find the combos to try to make them work together. And you can't always use the same direction for each tyrant, because the tyrants all have special abilities and what happens, and you need to understand how the tyrant's going to work to kind of how to build your Gearlocks. Anyways, that is my how to play overview review of Too Many Bones in every different direction, too many directions. I don't know. I'm all over the place. But hopefully Krissy will make this turn into something great. Anyways, last year I did Imperial Steam. This year I did Too Many Bones. What am I going to do for 2023? 4? I don't know. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for coming.